It's no secret, one of the best and fastest ways to achieve significant weight loss and dramatically improve health outcomes from the keto diet is to diligently keep your total carbohydrate levels under 20 grams, not net carbs. I'll show you how you can eat under 20 total carbs a day while still enjoying foods like waffles, lasagna, and rice pilaf. I'm going to take you through a week's worth of keto meals that you could easily make for yourself or your family in just a few minutes. Just to make sure we're all on the same page, let's clarify what is meant by total carbs versus net carbs. Total carbs refers to the total amount of carbohydrates present in a food or a meal. This includes all types of sugars, starches, fibers, sugar alternatives like allulose and sugar alcohols that are present in food. Net carbs refers to the amount of carbohydrates that can be effectively absorbed and used in the body. This is calculated by subtracting the fiber and the sugar alcohols from the total carbs, since those aren't fully digested or absorbed by the body. They don't have that much of an impact on blood sugar levels, therefore you don't need to count them in order to stay in ketosis. Pour the beaten eggs into the skillet with the cooked sausage and scramble. Once it's done, the last step is to top with a 1/4 cup of pico de gallo. This turns out to be very filling and we only used up 1 carb. To save yourself time for this week of keto meals, it's best if you grill up all of your chicken you're going to need for the week ahead of time. Then you can use it to easily assemble your meals like this keto chicken cauliflower salad. To a bowl, add about 2 cups of lettuce. To add bulk to the salad, I like to add a 1/2 cup of cauliflower rice. I find that using these packets of cauliflower rice is so convenient. They're pre-cooked and shelf stable. I'll have them listed down below on where I got them. For the dressing, add 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of a sugar-free balsamic vinaigrette. There's only 1 carb per serving here, but you could really use whatever dressing you wanted. If you wanted to just go with oil and vinegar, do that. Then top with 6 ounces of grilled chicken. Most people on the keto diet only count net carbs. However, some practitioners want their patients to count total carbs, as this will keep them from consuming all those processed keto foods that are high in total carbs. But you will see the best results if you count total carbs, because it forces you to actually count your carbohydrates in order to keep your carbs as low as possible. Since this chicken salad uses a lot of vegetables which are high in fiber, the carb count is higher. There are 9 grams of total carbs here. For a third meal, let's make some deliciously tender 0-carb pork ribs. You don't need a ton of sugary barbecue sauce to get flavor. Simply season generously with salt, garlic salt, and pepper. These ribs will slowly braise in apple cider vinegar, which will add flavor, plus it will help tenderize them. Add the ribs to the liner of the slow cooker and let them sit upright on its edge with the meaty portion against the liner. This is going to help the ribs get a nice golden, crispy exterior. Then cook this on the low setting of your slow cooker for around 6 hours. Okay, this one might take a little bit longer to cook, but again, very little effort on your part. And your ribs will pair well with a rice almond pilaf. Toast around a 1/4 cup of sliced almonds with a tablespoon of avocado oil over medium heat. You've probably noticed that I'm showing you 3 meals a day, and I realize that some people like to skip breakfast because they're practicing time-restricted eating, but there are those that really enjoy breakfast, so I wanted to show you that you could easily still enjoy 3 meals a day without going over your total carb limit. Another tablespoon of avocado oil, 2 cloves of garlic, and a large pinch of oregano and salt. Once the rice is heated through, divide it into 2 portions. You can have one with this meal with the pork ribs, and then one for later on in the week. If you do intermittent fasting and you still want to follow this plan, you have 2 options. Either fit all 3 of these meals into your eating window, or you can break up the first meal and divide it into your other meals. So have some for lunch and some for dinner. One important thing to remember when it comes to fasting or time-restricted eating is to make sure you're getting plenty of fluids and electrolytes. And I like to do that by using Element, which is my sponsor for today's video. When you stop consuming a ton of carbs, you get very little insulin release. And insulin is what triggers the kidneys to reabsorb sodium back into the body. So if you don't have the insulin, all that sodium gets flushed out and a bunch of other electrolytes follow. Replenish that loss with a packet of Element. It contains a science-backed electrolyte formula of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. It's free from any added sugars and dyes, and it comes in a wide range of flavors. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. So you get to try all 8 of their flavors free with any Element order. All you have to do is go to drinkelement.com/KetoFocus. This deal's only available through my link, so go to drinklmnt.com/KetoFocus. Add 2 ounces of sliced beef kielbasa into a skillet along with a 1/2 cup of chopped broccoli. Look for kielbasa that is 0 carbs. That's why I like to use the beef one. Sometimes pork has added sugars in it. Since you're only allowed so many when you're counting total carbs, you need an accurate way to measure your food. That's why I use a food scale. And you can tell this one is well loved because of how dirty it is, and it falls apart all the time, but it still works. I recommend investing in one of these. They're really not that expensive. I'll have my favorite listed down below. Once the broccoli is tender, add a clove of minced garlic and cook for 30 seconds. Then whisk together 2 eggs with a pinch of salt and pour that into the skillet and scramble it into the sausage and broccoli. This was one of my go-to lunches when I used to work as a pharmacist because half the time I was running so late to work, I didn't have time to pack anything, but I did have time to pack a can of tuna fish, a bowl, and some pork rinds. Just open your can of tuna, add it to a bowl, and mix in 3 tablespoons of mayo. We always had mayo at work. And if I forgot it, I just grab it from the shelf because I worked at Walgreens. Grab a pack of pork rinds and then use them to scoop up your tuna. Super easy, 0 carb meal. For dinner, reheat some of that grilled chicken from yesterday and serve it with the rest of your cauliflower rice pilaf. Combining leftovers is an easy way to stay keto without having to cook every night. This recipe is for you if you are a fan of pizza for breakfast. Whisk together 3 eggs in a bowl along with 1 ounce of softened cream cheese, 15 slices of pepperoni, and a pinch of salt. For the pepperoni, you can use the larger kind and cut it up if you want, or just leave them whole. They also make those mini pepperonis too, which works perfectly in this recipe. This mixture is going to be chunky from the cream cheese, but that's okay. It's going to come together and melt in as it cooks, because we're going to add it to a preheated skillet at medium-low heat, and then use a spatula to scrape it up and scramble it all together. These salmon bites have been very popular on TikTok lately. Use 6 ounces of salmon that you cut up into bite-sized chunks. Ideally, you want to have one with the skin on because it's going to add more fat to help you stay full. A tablespoon of olive oil and a half a teaspoon of each of these seasonings. Cooking these in the air fryer at 400 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes gets the outside super crispy but makes your salmon so juicy in each bite. While that's cooking, you can cook up some spinach in a few tablespoons of butter. Add around 3 cups or 3 handfuls of the spinach. Then watch it shrink down to nothing over medium heat. Season with salt and pepper just before you serve it. For dinner, you can make salsa chicken, a recipe that my whole family loves. Place 2 pounds of chicken in a baking dish and season both sides with salt and pepper and 4 teaspoons of taco seasoning. Then stir together 4 ounces of softened cream cheese with a can of Rotel. And then you'll spread that mixture on top of your chicken and bake it at 375 for around 30 to 35 minutes or until your chicken is cooked through. Next, top it with a cup of shredded cheddar cheese and bake it for around 5 more minutes or until the cheese is melted. This makes 3 servings to share, that's why it's perfect for a family, or you can just enjoy all 3 meals. I like showing you that you don't always have to have bacon and sausage for breakfast. Here we're cooking up 4 ounces of ground turkey with a tablespoon of avocado oil in a skillet over medium heat. Once browned, mix in 2 tablespoons of pico de gallo, a quarter of a small red onion, and season with salt and pepper. Crack in 2 eggs, cover and let it cook for 3 minutes or until the egg whites are cooked. Then serve it with a few cups of arugula on top. This is perfect for lunches on the go. Lay down 2 sheets of parchment paper, then layer on 5 to 8 pieces of iceberg lettuce in a rectangle shape. Add on your favorite sandwich fixings, lots of mayo, turkey, bacon, mustard. To roll it, start at one corner and tuck under the other side of the sandwich and tightly tuck it. Then roll and tuck in the edges of the parchment paper to make a burrito. Cut it in half and then look at this beauty. This is a go-to recipe that my whole family enjoys. Using a simple trick for the noodles in this keto lasagna means that I can make it in under 30 minutes while keeping each serving less than 5 carbs. After browning the ground beef in a skillet over medium-high heat, season with salt and pepper. You can add additional seasonings like basil, garlic powder, or oregano if you want to. Pour in a low-carb marinara sauce and let it simmer for 5 minutes. And I'll have my favorite brand listed down below for you. To assemble your lasagna, spread a small amount of ground beef mixture on the bottom. For the noodles, we're gonna use deli sliced chicken. Sounds crazy, but we really like it in this recipe and it works well as a 0-carb noodle replacement. Top with a few dollops of ricotta cheese and mozzarella cheese, and then you're just gonna repeat the layers 2 or 3 times until all your ingredients are used up, then bake it at 400 degrees for 15 minutes. Like I promised, you can still enjoy waffles while keeping your total daily carbs less than 20. Here we're making my favorite keto waffle recipe called a chaffle. Mix together 1 egg, half a cup of shredded mozzarella cheese, 2 tablespoons of almond flour, and half a teaspoon of baking powder. Scrape that into the waffle maker with a little help of Chewy, one of my favorite spatulas because he's so cute. My first chaffle video was one that did really well on YouTube, and it was funny because a lot of people were freaking out at the fact that I used a fork to scoop my batter onto the waffle maker. They thought I was wasting so much of the mixture. I mean, I wasn't. Plus, there's so many things you don't see when I'm filming because I don't show you everything. But I really got a kick out of it because people really lost their minds over that. Of all the things you could worry about in the world. This whole chaffle is around 4 grams of total carbs. I didn't want to use syrup on top because even though most keto syrups are 0 to 1 net carbs, they actually have a ton of total carbs in them. So instead, I cooked up 2 eggs, and I'm going to use the yolk from the eggs as my syrup. You should have leftover pork from your pork ribs, so I'm going to show you how to turn these leftovers into a delicious, easy pork casserole with only 8 total carbs. Cook 4 ounces of leftover pork in a skillet with a tablespoon of butter until the pork is crispy. Season with a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, then stir in 1 cup of cauliflower rice and a half ounce of cream cheese. Once the cheese is melted, transfer that to an oven-safe skillet, then top it with a 1/4 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. Then bake at 400 degrees for 5 to 8 minutes, and you'll finish the dish with a few tablespoons of sliced green onions. This is the best way to enjoy keto spaghetti without going over your carb limit and without having to use keto noodles. Cook up 6 ounces of ground beef in a skillet over medium-high heat. Then season the beef with a half a teaspoon each of salt and garlic powder. Once your beef is brown, stir in a 1/3 cup of a low-carb marinara sauce, then remove it from the heat to cool a bit. Pour this over a cup of lettuce or salad mix and top with a half ounce of feta cheese. Over the course of 5 days, we have kept total carbs less than 20 and made meals that only took a few minutes to make. I have all of these meals in a macro calculated menu, plus a shopping list and tips on what keto foods to avoid if you're counting total carbs. To access it, join my monthly keto meal plan membership where I release 7 days of fully macro calculated meals to you each month for only $7. The longer you subscribe, the more meals you're gonna accumulate, which will help you take the guesswork of figuring out what to eat and help you stay on track. Go to patreon.com/KetoFocus to sign up, and I'll have the link in the description box too.